All right, so this will be the section where we kind of talk more about just nuts and bolts of formatting. This is going to be more geared towards the children's story because of the pages. Chances are you're going to have one image per page that would kind of take the whole page. So I got about 5 pages here with some text already and an image for each one. So the images are not, they've not been formatted. Some of them are horizontal, some of them are vertical. So I've done that on purpose to show you that you can change your page orientation individually based off that page. So, and it's with this tool right here. If you can see where my cursor is at, it's called the page tool. So if I click on the direct selection tool and I see this, so I can see that red border around the photograph. So that's my image. It's going to tell me that that is a landscape oriented photograph. So if I were to click on this and I'd go to right click and I go to fitting and I say fill frame proportionately, it's going to do that, which may work, but maybe you want all that stuff off to the sides because that's why you took the photograph with that orientation. So if I did fill, and then we can just see that this is just really small compared to the page. So if I were to click on the page tool, and then we see this kind of almost weird looking selection around this page, but we see those little symbols right there. I can change the size of the page for a custom fit, which technically you could also do that too if you wanted, because we do not have to worry about printing. But usually when you print for one book, the pages are going to be the same size. But right here, over here, we see that it's on portrait orientation. I can click on this to change it to landscape. Now it does that. It does not automatically do my frame selection or my text selection. So I would need to adjust this. So if I move this over, take this up, and then I can even grab my text box and put that over here. And now if I click on this and I go fitting, fill frame proportionately, we see more of that image, or even fill content proportionally. Now we see the whole image, and none of these other pages have been affected. So if we were to look at this one, I believe this one is also, well, we can just do this. So if we right click on it and we go to fitting and we go fill content proportionally, we see that it is a landscape oriented photograph. So I believe Shift P is the shortcut for the page tool if you want to use that. But if I were to click on that, change that to be landscape, and then click on my selection tool, and then I can grab this and adjust that to be the size. Again, I'm still going based off the margins guide, so that purple box. And then I can click on that and go change my fitting. Now this one is, so if I were to click on this, this one should be a vertical orientation. So that's why it already almost works perfectly for that. This one I put in there because it is kind of like a square image, so we could just kind of see. So if we were to click on that, we would go fitting and we go fill frame proportionately, we see that it did that. It does crop some off. Maybe we could live with a little bit of that crop. Or you could change that to be fill content proportionally, and then maybe you would click on the frame if you really wanted to have all of that in there. Then you could even maybe move it up or down depending on where you wanted the text. Maybe you wanted your text on and also on this text box we see that there's that red symbol, which means there is overhanging text, which we will get to that soon. So this one is also a horizontal, so we can just see that right off the bat. So if we were to click on that, change that. Now it's important to change this frame because that is what the whole fitting thing is going based on, is that frame dimension. So now if we were to click on that and then fill frame proportionately, we see that we can adjust our display performance to high quality and see that becomes a little bit more crisp. So you could click on each one of those and change that also. So now we can worry about our text. So right here, if we were to click on, so we go to page 1, we're going to click on this, and then you can hit Control A. That's the shortcut to select everything. And we could find a font right over here. We see our fonts right here. If we click on this, we see samples. So pick a font that you would like, especially for a children's story. If you only got one sentence, you can go bigger and bolder, make it easier to read. There are simpler cursive fonts. There's more extravagant cursive fonts. So I mean, it's up to you on how you want it to look. I'm gonna go with Charlemagne right here, and then we have bold. Looks like that's the and then maybe change the size. Maybe have that be a little bit bigger. Maybe try 25. We see this little red thing, which means that we do have text that is not visible because it's going beyond our box. So what we need to do there is adjust the size of our box so that it'll fit it. We also probably should change the color. Probably should have done that beforehand. So if we go right here, if you can see where my cursor's at, where that little T is, right now we have it on black. We're not going to want it on black. You could either alternate the color depending on your photograph to make it stand out. You could try to find one that just fits for all of them. So maybe white or something like that. So if I have this, now what I want to do is to make it much easier and I don't have to remember all these settings. If I highlight this stuff and I go to Window and I go to Styles, I want Paragraph Styles. We see this, it even automatically comes with the character styles. I can grab this, put it over here, and then probably going to focus more on the paragraph style. So we see when we open this up, we see this. What we're going to do is we're going to click on this little paragraph symbol, if you can see where my cursor is at, and we're going to go to New Paragraph Style. And then eventually this is going to pop up and you can name it. So you could put children's book, whatever you want, based on no paragraph style, basic character formats. It should, because we have it highlighted and all that stuff, so it's already based off that, but we should see, double check, make sure we have that font, so it is. Bold, there's only the one style. You can also change it here too. The size, we had it at 25, so that's all good. So indents and spacings, we didn't mess around with that too much. We went with left alignment, but if you wanted it to be center, you could. Let's try that. Let's try changing it to center. The tabs, paragraph rules, shading, we don't keep options. We don't have to worry about that. Hyphenation, we shouldn't have to worry about either because it's a children's story. And same with justification and all that. Those are mostly the ones that you want. So after that, we're going to hit OK. And then we should see, if we go to paragraph styles, now we have one that says children's book. So what you do from there is you click inside the next one, click on children's book, and there it is. It automatically changes that. So what I could do here too, because we changed it, so now it's now centered. And that's all you have to do. You just click into that box and then click on children's book, and it should automatically. So right here, it's because there were two separate sentences, so we were going to want that also. So just make sure you see that. Make sure, like this one, if I were to click in this and I were to click on children's book, it would only do it on the one. Also, white is not going to be the best color for this because it's a white page. So one thing you can do right here is, if you have a bunch, you could just click inside that box and hit Control A, select everything, and then hit children's book, and it'll do that automatically. Because it's highlighted right here, we're not going to want white, so we can just change the color on that one with no big deal. So now we do see, though, that there are a little bit more of those red plus symbols, which means we have some text that is not all visible. So what we want to do there, again, click on this, your selection tool, click on this text box, maybe make it a little bit bigger to where you can see it all. And then you can make it wider too, if you wanted to give it a little bit more space. And that's pretty much, and you're going to do that until you no longer see that red plus. So right here we see that it is going to about right there. And then the blue almost gets a little bit lost. So one thing we could do is just try to move that down, maybe highlight these ones right here, and then we could change that color to be, maybe we change that one to be white, so it's a blue and white type thing. Whatever ends up working. And that is pretty much the way to use a style. It's just a nice little way, much like an action or using the smart object, to where you don't have to try to remember all these certain sizes and all that stuff for each set of text. You just kind of click inside of it, highlight it, click on the children's book or the paragraph style that you made.